Hello, Lindsay. How are you?
Doing good. Aubrey, I'm excited to talk about IELTS today. What are we talking about?
Yes, we're talking about spelling. Are you a good speller, Lindsay?
I think I'm actually probably a good speller. I'm a decent speller. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm a pretty good speller. And you
Yeah.
know why? Because we're both readers. That makes a
Yeah.
huge difference in so we're going to
Yeah.
talk about that some today. But spelling definitely matters on IELTS much
Mm-hmm.
more than it matters in your daily life out there, right? If you're sending a
Mm.
text message and email, it's not the end of the world if a word is
It's
spelled
not the end of the
incorrectly,
world.
but on
Yeah.
IELTS, it really matters.
So this is true for the listening exam, right? What happens if you spell something incorrectly again, Aubrey, on the listening exam? What happens?
Unfortunately, your answer is marked wrong. Even if the word is
Wow.
correct, if it is
That's
spelled
harsh.
incorrectly, it's just wrong. You don't get any,
Harsh.
partial points. Nope,
Oh my
unfortunately.
gosh. Ooh, and what about the reading exam? I mean,
Yeah.
where
This
do
is
we
also
need
true for
spelling on the
IELTS
reading
reading,
exam?
right? Because some question types are multiple choice, but you have sentence completion, summary completion, note completion, and then table flowchart completion. All of those you're having to write words and they must be spelled correctly or the answer is wrong.
Oh, and then on writing, it's the bad news just keeps coming, Aubrey.
I know.
When on writing, incorrect spelling can actually affect your vocab score. Is that right?
Exactly. It affects the lexical resource score, your vocabulary score. Occasional minor typos will not drastically affect your score, but frequent errors or misspelling common simple words will bring down your band score because that shows limited control over vocabulary.
Okay, so we want to make sure that we take spelling seriously because we can see that the stakes are high here. So then, if we feel like maybe we're not the best speller, and spelling is not always an indication of competence, right? It just means you're a language person if you spell well, right?
Exactly. It's a lot more about the attention to detail, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot. Sometimes it comes more naturally to some people, but you can train this. You can become a better speller so that you can increase your IELTS scores.
Yeah. So what can we do, Aubrey? What would be a couple of suggestions that we can give our listeners today of how to improve?
Yeah, we have 3 things you can do to be improving your spelling. The first one is reading. If you read often, you will be able to spell anything you need to spell on the IELTS exam. You'll be seeing these words spelled correctly. As you're adding words to your vocabulary notebook, you're seeing them spelled, right? So really, the
Yeah.
best way to improve spelling is to see words spelled correctly often.
Yeah, yeah. But you do have to read attentively. You have to pay attention to what you're reading. You have to actually notice not just the story, but how the words look, not just what they mean. It's kind of like building a bit of a photographic memory while we're taking in a story.
Exactly. It's not enough to be reading for the gist, the content, right? You also do need to be observant, paying attention to how words are spelled, noticing when spelling is surprising. Maybe there's a double letter you wouldn't have expected to be there. Take note of that. Recognize, like you said, Lindsay, sort of that photographic memory, paying attention so that when you write it, you can spell it correctly.
Yeah, the value of just stopping and thinking, I thought that was 2. I thought that was 1 L, but it's 2. That actually creates a bit of a bookmark in your brain, like a
Exactly.
dent in your brain that will help you on test day. All right.
Exactly. Yes. And you've heard this from us before, but you need to be interested in what you're reading. You need to be reading a variety of materials. So yes, read the news, but don't just read the news. Find a novel that you love, a page turner that you'll be excited to read so that you look forward to reading and your brain is more engaged.
Yeah, Michelle and I have talked about this lately on All Ears English, how great it is when you have a novel that you really look forward to coming back to before bed or something. It's just the best feeling, isn't it, Aubrey?
Really is. I love looking forward to reading, staying up later than I should because I can't wait to find out what happens next. It's so fun.
It's great. It's the best. So reading is our number 1 recommendation, but there's 2 other things we would recommend to improve our spelling. What is number 2? Aubrey?
Yeah. So number 2 is to train your visual memory. So this is envisioning words in your mind while you speak because it's not just about reading. If you have seen these words before, as you're speaking, you can be visualizing those words. Picture the way they are spelled. You're creating a mental connection in your mind between the word and how it's spelled.
Yeah, this is something for some reason my brain is quirky. I do this when I speak foreign languages without even saying like, I'm going to do this now. I just do it.
It helps improve
And
your
I've
writing
asked
and
people-
spelling for sure.
It helps improve your writing and your understanding of the structure of the language too. But I've asked like friends, you know, when you're speaking Spanish, speaking for whatever language, do you do that? And they've said, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I think it's kind of a weird quirk, but I'm telling you, it's great advice. It works. It helps to solidify fluency and it will help with spelling 100%.
Yes.
It's
And
like you're
when
double
you are
learning.
able, yes, exactly. And when you are able, follow along with either the transcripts or if it's an audiobook, listen to it and follow along with it written so you can make that connection between speech and pronunciation and what the words look like. And as we were saying, this is where part of training your visual memory is noticing problem letters or unusual spellings. So a good example is the word accommodate. You will look at that and it probably looks strange. Take note of the double C and double M when you see it. Just that fraction of a second to note, okay, double C, double M, so that when you write it, you spell it correctly.
This is why we need these activities, because that word would give native speakers a little bit of challenge. I think.
Definitely. Native speakers should be doing this as well. Absolutely.
All right, Aubrey, we are back from break. The third tip here is use spell check tools wisely. What do we mean by that?
Yeah, this is really interesting because if you are going to, whether you're handwriting your essay or using the computer, if you are relying on spell check, it's going to burn you on test day because you won't have a spell checker on your essays, right?
Yes.
But spell checking can be used wisely to help you prepare. So when you're working on improving your spelling, you will use spell check. First, proofread your essay without any tools to practice this skill for test day. You need to be able to proofread without a spell checker. But then when autocorrect fixes a word, right, after you proofread it, put it in Grammarly, put it in a spell checker, and any words that are corrected that you missed, pause, take note. How did you spell it? What was wrong? So that you can spell it correctly on test day.
I love that idea. So we are being very intentional about the tools we're using and exactly when we're using them, knowing what tools we're going to have on test day and won't have on test day. So smart.
Exactly.
So smart.
Yes. And you do not want to take big risks on test day. Maybe you think of a new word that you've heard before that you want to include in an essay. If you've never seen it written before and you're not confident that you can spell it right, test day is not the time to do that, right? These risks you want to take while you're practicing, while you're writing practice essays. That's when you want to use this vocabulary so that you have a chance to proofread it, double check the spelling, then you can use it on test day.
Yeah, take those risks in practice essays when you're going to have a teacher who's qualified in IELTS review it and give you feedback, right? And that's something we do include in our course, 3 Keys IELTS. The practice exams is part of some of the packages, right, Aubrey?
Yes, and it's so useful, right? It's one thing to put your essay in a spell checker and find out which words were spelled correctly or some of the grammar that maybe should have been changed. But it's another thing to get your scores for each scoring section. What would I have scored on task response, vocabulary, cohesion, coherence, and why? What do I need to change in order to increase those scores? Getting that feedback from a teacher is invaluable.
Yeah, that's how we get super granular. And then we're actually preparing for IELTS, right? We're not preparing for academia or some other test. We're preparing for the IELTS exam, right?
Exactly.
Guys, go back and check out IELTS Energy 1580. What should you include in your Task 1 overall trend? That was just a few days ago.
Yes.
So don't miss it.
If you are
right?
preparing for academic task 1, do not miss that episode. You need to know how to do this overview of your essay. What should be in your overall trend?
Good. Any final thoughts? I mean, I feel like we've covered it quite nicely here, Aubrey. Spelling does matter. It matters on 3 out of 4 of the places of the exam.
Yes, it definitely matters, but there is a lot you can do ahead of time to make sure you are spelling these words correctly, that you can catch errors, right? You need to practice proofreading. You need to use today's tips to be improving your spelling ahead of time.
All right. Really good stuff today, Aubrey. Guys, hit follow if you love our show and check out our course, 3 Keys IELTS, over at allearsenglish.com/KEYS. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay.
Good stuff, Aubrey. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.